After the laughter, I suppose there is my story is a serious one, so I apologize in advance for that. It's about holding your nerve when you're really shit scared. And there will be another swear word during this, and it's totally appropriate for the story. So back in the 70s, I used to wear a beret, Doc Martens boots, like skinhead boots, jeans. I was a union leader, and I was very different from how I am now. However, I've always believed in the power of love. And at that time, I used to run an adventure playground in North Peckham Estate in South London. Well, some people, South London, you know what I mean? S-A-R-F. And it was, you know, there I was, a white middle-class kid, even though I was a union leader, didn't matter. But I was plunged into really the worst part of London at the time. So Peckham had the highest child mortality rate, the highest delinquency rate, the highest mugging rate. I could go on, it was really terrible. And the North Peckham Estate was the largest low-rise, high-density estate in Europe. And after 10 years of being put up, it was already a modern slum. So that's the background to me meeting Michael Smith. The story's called What Happened to Michael Smith? And Michael Smith was a 15-year-old Jamaican youth who'd come from Jamaica, where his parents had basically left him in the care of his grandmother. And his grandmother had looked after him, and then she died, and he jumped in her grave after her because he didn't want to lose the one person in his life who loved him and cared about him. And then he came over to England, and when I met him, he was like a lot of the kids there that I was responsible for without any legitimate authority as such, or formal authority. He was in trouble, let's put it like that. And so one day I found him, he pulled a knife on a little kid half his age. And I said to him, Michael, you don't do that. Next time you do it, I'm banning you from the playground. And to be honest with you, I was terribly scared of knives. I was scared of violence. The last thing I wanted was what actually happened. A few days later, I went into the building in the playground, and there he was with his knife out. I'm like, okay, Michael, give me your knife. Give me your knife. And after a moment, instead of stabbing me or trying to stab me, he put it in his back pocket. So that was one thing that I got through. But nevertheless, I had to stick to my commitment that he needed to leave the playground, because you can't have, you know, teenagers threatening young kids with knives. That, you know, wasn't on. So anyway, I got hold of him by the arm, sort of attempting to guide him to the entrance of the building that was in the middle of the playground. And we started to scuffle. He sort of like trying to throw me off. And so, amazingly, I managed to get him to the front door. We went outside, and then we had to walk towards the main gate. As soon as he got outside, there was a lot of stuff. It's an adventure playground, so there was all sorts of beams of wood and all kinds of metal objects. So he picked up this very long steel pole with a pointed end and started to try to jab me with it. And, you know, it's pretty scary, really. I don't pretend to be a courageous sort of guy, and I certainly didn't have any sort of martial arts skills. So I walked with him towards the gate, and he kept on stabbing me. Unfortunately, I was far enough away that he didn't actually injure me. So as we were walking towards the gate, he was shouting at me, and this was, some of you might remember, there was the Anti-Nazi League. We used to have concerts and marches, you know, and in London. See some of you nodding your head, so you know that whole thing was going on. So he was going, "You white racist Nazi!" And I'm going, well, basically I got him to the door, to the gate, and he started to turn up, and he's shouting at me, he's still name calling at me as he's walking down the street. And me, I'm going, "Michael, you fucking idiot! I love you! I love you! You white racist fucking Nazi! And you know what? This carried on right until he was at the end of the street. He turned the corner and disappeared. And while he was walking there, I kept on saying over and over and over again, I love you, I love you. And I was angry because he just didn't get it. 2 days later, we had, in the building, we had a sort of like a barn door, which is the office. So like barn doors with horses in, you know, they have the bottom bit is, you can lock it, and the top bit opens up. So I had the top bit opened up. Suddenly Michael appears with a big smile on his face. He sticks his hand out, wants to shake my hand, and he says, Michael, I'm sorry, I want to come and help you build this place. And I was just in complete shock. And for the next 9 months, he was fantastic. He helped out around the place. He looked after the little kids. He was good as gold, perfect for about 9 months. And then one day, he disappeared. And this is a kid, by the way, I'd even been to court with him to sort of moral support because he was on trial for a misdemeanor. And he just totally disappeared. And then about 3 months later, still not knowing what had happened to him, I walk in the main gates of the playground, and there's a kind of walkway above. And I hear the smashing of a bottle as it hit the ground. And it was Michael, and he was like shouting and throwing milk bottles. And I go, Michael, what are you doing? Stop it! And he literally disappeared, slipped away. And I reckon it could have been because he was embarrassed, perhaps, that after all the care and love I'd shown him, that there he was again, being, you know, misbehaving. He disappeared, and to this day, I don't know what happened to him. He would be in his 50s now. And there are many times when I think to myself, well, you know, whatever happened to Michael Smith? But I kept my nerve. I held on in the sense of holding on to my commitment to him, to keep to my word that he was going to be turfed out, even though I was scared like you wouldn't believe. And I think that his reaction to my shouting at him that I loved him got through. It actually got through. That's why he came back two days later. And I just feel sad that I couldn't be the father that he obviously needed. I just didn't have the time. I wasn't his father. But that's who I was for a little while. I was his father that he never had. So that's my story. Thank you.